925 to 967. So, what's happened? So, we're in the Kaido arc for a bit, and then we've got this small, like, not in between, because this has already happened, this is one of... Oh, it wasn't recording, it just still had the record button, and it wasn't moving forward. That's great. I look like an idiot now. Well, no one's going to know this besides me being like, I wasted a couple of hours of my time. 1 more minute. So what I basically said was, it feels like sort of a flowing river between like, oh, this is going badly to good, and a sort of sense of like, this really does feel like a conflict or a war, which I know is on purpose, because revolutionary isn't specifically a war, but it calls for like conflict, and I really do like how they put it forward. I comment about, I love the idea that Luffy sort of commented on, so the idea of him getting like captured and put, like sort of like fighting all of these things as training, as like interesting, he's like, he believes that he can do it so much. It's like, oh, I'm gonna use these guys as sort of like a training field. Boo, boo. And it's absolutely fun. I also sort of find it interesting of them sort of figuring out, okay, this means they're sort of like collecting allies, and you had this small thing with like the sacrifice, and I'm like, and I think I've said this, I'm not gonna say what specifically, I don't think I recorded this. Yeah. The one thing which I thought the most interesting information, because I thought about it differently before I got this information, but when they slowly dropped the information of the smile fruits, I was like, oh shit, this is fucked up. This is messed up. Who the fuck will make something this messed up? So yeah. And also, the other thing that we've had so far is sort of Oden's a sort of Goldie Rogers backstory. And because I already knew Goldie Rogers was going to be in it, on one of the feeds is like, oh, here's a callback to earlier. And it's like, oh, okay. There's one thing that someone pointed out, which I thought was interesting, was the fact that someone was like, that Luffy, when he went to Sky Island, was like, oh yeah, I'm going up there. And then like, I got to the point where it's like, oh, he did actually copy him. And I'm like, okay, that legit sounds cool. The fact that like he copied sort of like the pose that Goldie Roger did when he was going to the same place. I'm like, ooh, which is like, I know a couple of people are like being like, oh, maybe it's like gonna be buggy, but like I honestly believe as this is sort of like a message of like, not like successor or like reincarnation, not that way where it's like, oh, he has no effort, he has nothing, but I think it's like this, the sort of spirit and the way that he handles it is basically meant to be like, sort of like at a written level that's sort of like similar. So he's meant to be like written like as a copy, not a perfect copy because there'll probably be something different, but it's sort of like the successor in the way that like the way that he thinks, the way that he tackles problems, the way that he analyzes situations. I feel like that would be like, surprisingly enough, I feel like Luffy compared to Goldie Rogers will be more aggressive and more like, you know what, let's fight. I don't know why, but not fight as in aggressively like, ah. There's tons of better people to point that out, but I feel like if something bad happens to one of his crews, he'll defend it more. I don't know, maybe I'm just reading Luffy as a character, because he defends his crew a lot, and maybe it's Goldie Rogers, maybe he would actually do the same thing. But you really see sort of like Goldie Rogers sort of like, not second coming as in reincarnation being like, oh, his talent means nothing, but like that sort of like spiritual succession, like he's trying to get the same thing that Goldie Roger was, which is basically find the last point. and I thought it was insane and so creative. And also, a bit of a spoilers, like this is a bit more of a spoiler. The one thing that I absolutely love out of all of it was like you had like Odin join Goldie Rogers' crew. It's like, yes, we're going to find this poneglyph. And it was like, we can't find this last one. It's like, well, we have one. And it's like, why the fuck did you not mention anything? We've been looking for this one specific thing this entire time, and you said we had one. Well, yeah, but it wasn't the same as the others. All of them were right. That's the one we wanted. I don't know why. I find that one specific line exchange like so funny and so fitting. I just find it funny. It's just like hilarious. It's like it took them longer just because of like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention I have one of those. Because obviously I don't know if Goldie Rogers went to the other place beforehand, but I find this is just really fun and really insane and really creative.